Hey, Dr. I.E. Smart and University Cabinet. First of all, I want to say thank you for bringing this challenge to me. Put a lot of thought into it, and I think I've got an awesome solution that we can put out there for our students and give them lots of opportunity to get the classes that they wanted. So, whenever this was first presented to me, I did a lot of thinking about it, and I also want to say thank you for the resources as far as looking at the map, looking at the class schedules, looking at the fact books as far as our enrollment numbers. All those things were very helpful as I went through this process. And there's a new concept out there, or I guess it's not a new concept, but it's called design thinking. It was something that I learned as I went through the DSIT program, and I thought this would be a great opportunity to use what I learned in that program to try to help us with this challenge. So as you go through this process, really what you're trying to do is understand all the concepts of what centers around a problem and what solutions may be the best fit for the problem. And so you should empathize with the situation. You need to truly define what the situation is, have some time to generate some ideas in the idea phase, and then you'll also want to look at prototyping and then test your possible solution. And when you go through all those steps, you should come out with something that works well for everyone. So as I left Dr. I.E. Smart's office the other day, when he first presented this challenge to me, I got to thinking about whenever I was a student and how I worked full time and how I was always trying to find the classes that I needed at the time that I needed them at. And it was always quite a challenge. So, I mean, I can truly feel what these students are encountering when maybe they can't get the class that they need at a certain time, at a certain location. You know, we may have students that work. I know that we do. So there's a place in my heart for these students because that's the way I came through the process. And so I got to, that really led me into thinking about what really is the root of the problem. And it's just that we don't have enough flexibility out there for our students. I know there was some conversation about classes on different campuses and bus schedules, but as we know, if we have students that are trying to accomplish several things throughout a day, it's not always possible for them to get to one location to the other. They may have to schedule an hour or two in between classes to make some of those things happen. That's just not a very feasible thing for them. So I truly looked at the situation as being something that we need to fix for students because there's just not enough flexibility there. I mean, that's where my mind went to when I really thought about the root cause. So as I went through those first two phases of design thinking, I got to really thinking about options. And I put myself back to where I was as a student and thinking, well, I was working during this time. We probably have students, as I said earlier, that are also trying to work while they're going to school. Maybe we have a student that's taking an 8 o'clock class and it's in Macon. Well, the next class he or she needs as part of their program is at 9 o'clock, but it happens to be in Cochran. And we also have that same class at 3 o'clock over in Macon. Well, that doesn't work for them because they've got to work in the afternoons. So they don't have an option to do that. And it's not really feasible for them to get out of their class at 8:50 and be in Cochran at 9 o'clock. So there's a problem there. And then that led me into thinking more about, well, is there a way for us to rework when we're offering things in the schedule? And my mind first went to part of terms, which I know we've probably played a lot with here. Many institutions have over the years. But is there any way that we could break up these courses where there's more A and B type options? Is there some 10-week options? Whatever the case may be with those type of things. And if that course can be offered at 9 o'clock in Cochran as an A session, maybe it can be offered as a 9 o'clock and a B session over in Macon, or vice versa. But as I thought about that more, I said, well, that's going to have budget implications potentially. because we may need to bring an extra instructor in. It could increase the faculty workload, could cause overload pay because of that. Or we may just not have the courses on other campuses that we still need for students. So I said, well, that's not really a really viable option in this situation. I don't know that there's a way that we could rework the schedule to make that happen for our students. So I got to thinking about the technology aspect in this. And I know we've put a lot of work into trying to make sure we've got state-of-the-art classrooms, we've got the video conferencing equipment that we need in them. And that's where my mind started centering around, like, okay, there has to be a great way for us to set the schedule up so that these students can tune in from anywhere and still get the experience they need. And that kind of led me into the prototyping phase. I got to thinking about several different ways we could do this. We could have a situation where maybe there's still some space on the Macon campus that's not being utilized, and it could be open at 9 o'clock. And we could have that instructor over in Cochran teaching at the 9 o'clock class in person to students, at the same time doing the video conferencing piece back to the students over on the Macon campus. And there may be 10, 15, 20 plus students in there. Well, to make sure all this stuff works, we probably want to hire a TA and put them in there to make sure students are behaving in the class, all the equipment's up and running, those type of things. But there again, I got to thinking about, well, there's probably budget implications with that. I know a teacher assistant probably would cost the same as what we would have to pay a normal instructor, but there's still a piece of that. And I said, well, really technically could be done from anywhere. So maybe we look at a situation where we set up classes, and let's say we have room for 30 in a class over in Cochran. Well, we set up that class to actually have 60, and we do 30 as an in-person option, and 30 of those can sign up as an online option. Now, they still have to meet at 9 o'clock to get the one-on-one instruction, but they can do it from anywhere. So if you've got a student living in the residence halls, or if you've got a student living in an apartment nearby, whatever the case may be of that, he or she could have that 8 o'clock class. They could pick up that 9 o'clock class. They could go back to their residence, back to their dorm room by 9 o'clock, log into the class, still have the experience of the teacher being right there with them, and be able to answer questions, be able to ask questions, be able to see and hear everything the instructor's doing. And I think that truly provides the flexibility that they need. Now, I know we'll have to look at the schedule and see what courses may be conducive to this, and we'll probably need to tweak it as we go through. But I think this is something that we can do using technology that we have in the classroom, providing that flexibility for students to either take it in person at one location or online in a synchronous format, listening to the instructor and interacting with them at certain times. And this would be an awesome solution for us. And we're not factoring in bus schedules, we're not having to factor in gas time, we're not factoring in drive time for students. I feel like this truly would give them the most availability or best flexibility. So with that, that's my idea. I appreciate your time to listen to you, and I can't wait to hear your feedback. Hope you have a great rest of your day. Goodbye.